In this lesson, we are going to be graphing linear functions with individual transformations. As you might recall from previous math classes, a transformation of a graph is just if you have a graph and you move it left or right, up or down, or you might stretch or compress it a little bit. We are going to start with the most fundamental basic function, which are linear functions. I will be honest, this one visually is the most difficult to grasp from this chapter in terms of seeing the patterns that are going on. But as we progress through this chapter, hopefully you're going to start connecting some dots and realizing, oh, these are the patterns that are emerging. So, if you are ever given a function and you have to graph it and you look at it and you're like, I have no idea how to graph this thing, creating a t-table will always work. However, utilizing a t-table is very time consuming. So you can do it on every single problem that I ask you to graph, but it's going to take you some time. Our goal should be that we don't have to use t-tables, but they're like a safety net. They're always going to be there if you want them to be. So let's pretend if we had the linear function y equals x, you have no idea what that parent function looks like. Well, if that's the case, we are going to construct a t-table where we select x values and find the y values. That will generate coordinates. The coordinates will produce dots. The dots will create a shape for the graph. So the coordinates I'm going to pick is I'm going to pick 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then why don't we also pick the negative ones as well? -1, -2, and -3. That's a good kind of smattering of what could happen. It's kind of centered around the origin. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those x values and plug them into the equation. So for the -3, that would turn it into y equals -3. Now, because this linear function has nothing really going on, it's nice because it basically just tells you the answer right when you plug it in. What is the y value? Y is -3. Then we do that for -2, and we get y is equal to -2. All I'm doing is replacing the x value with the x value I selected. When I did that, I got y equals -2. Then I plug in -1, and we would get y equals -1. So the y value is -1. Hopefully at this point you should be able to figure out, like, okay, I think I know what all the y values are. We don't need to plug it in each time, but I'm going to continue to do it just for funsies. For the next one, y is equal to 0, so the y value is equal to 0. Then we have y equals 1, so the y value is equal to 1. Then we have y is equal to 2, which means the y value is equal to 2. And then finally we have y is equal to 3, which means the y value is equal to 3. All of these ordered pairs are coordinate values. They tell you where a dot exists on our graph, and with enough dots, we can figure out the shape. So let's go from the top and move downwards. The first coordinate is -3, -3. The x value is -3, the y value is -3. X tells you how you move left and right. Y tells you how you move up and down. Therefore, according to the dot that I have, according to the numbers I have, I am going to move -3 in the x direction. That tells me to move left 3. And then I'm going to move -3 in the y direction. Negative means down 3. So if you go left 3 and down 3, you would get this dot. Then I'm going to do the green coordinate, -2, -2. The x value is -2, telling me to go left 2. The y value is -2, telling me to go down 2. So we go left 2, down 2. That'll take us right here. Then the blue coordinate, -1, -1. That means left 1 and down 1, which takes us right here. You can start to hopefully see a shape forming. The red one, 0, 0. So I don't move left or right, because it's 0. I don't move up or down, because it's 0. So I start right at the origin, right there. Then we do the next blue coordinate, the 1, 1. The x value is positive 1, which tells me I'm going to move right 1, because for the x direction, right is positive. And then for the y value, we have positive 1. So we're going to move up 1, because positive means up in the y direction. So I'm going to go right 1, up 1. Then the green coordinate, 2, 2, that indicates that I'm going to go right 2 and up 2. And then the purple one, I'm going to go right 3 and up 3. Now that we have all of these dots on my graph, I think we could all figure out what the shape is. It's a straight line, aka what we call in mathematics a linear function. Linear is our fancy math way of saying straight line. This is the graph of the parent function. Now, what you are going to be doing today in this lesson is I am going to slowly manipulate that equation. I'm going to start adding to it or subtracting or maybe multiplying. What I want you all to do is try to figure out what patterns exist and how they impact the graph. Like if I add 1 to the end of this, if it's x plus 1, how does that change the graph and why? Try and figure out the pattern there so that way when I say x plus 2, you don't have to do a t-table, you can just jump to the graph immediately.